Fight!
What's up everybody, welcome back to Kick Punch for the next video in the series. So in this video we got a lot to get to, so we're going to dive right in. Just be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and do all those things. We'll jump right into this. So this is kind of where we left off. We still have a guy doing this interesting, cool chant pose. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to run a zremesh on him to so that we can get him posed accurately, or how we like. So in order to do that, I always like to, first things first, come over to my subtool. I'm going to rename this to Caveman, and then I'm going to duplicate that subtool. And always just remember that, you know, by duplicating, you're kind of saving a state of the object as it was in case you break anything, but also we want to be able to project our detail back to our new model using that other subtool, and I'll show you what that looks like. So if you come over here to geometry and come to zremesh, we have a target poly count of 5, whatever number that is. So we're just going to hit zremesh, make sure that our symmetry is on, that's very important, and then we'll just hit zremesh. This is usually a fairly quick process. I don't know if I need to skip ahead. I assume it'll take maybe 30 seconds or less. Cool, alright, so that's not too bad. Let's hit Shift F to check out our polyframe. Yeah, so I mean, this is going to work for our purposes. Obviously, this probably isn't like a riggable mesh. If you wanted to take it in and animate it, it's close. But you might want to take further steps and precautions to be able to get spans to go where they need to go. But for this character, because we're not going to rig him, I think it's going to work just great. So if we turn off our polyframe, we can go ahead, and you'll notice that if we A/B between our old model, we've lost some fidelity, you know, because our poly count is lower. If you look at the polyframe on this guy, you can see, like, obviously it's super dense. So what we're going to do first thing, we're just going to hit Control D and subdivide 2 or 3 times. So if I actually subdivided it 4 times. So Control D is how you just add subdivision levels. If you want a step down, just hit Shift D, you know, step down. And if you want to go up, you just hit D. But to create a new subdivision level, it's a Control D. So those are the hotkeys for that. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to project our detail from this guy back to this guy. Very simple. We're just going to turn on the only 2 subtools. We're going to hold Shift to turn off all the eyes, and then just turn on the ones that we want to project to and from. So turn off solo mode so that you can see the overlap here. So now we're just going to come down here to geometry with those 2 visible. Very important, those are both visible. I'm sorry, subtool, and then do a project all. Just click that button, and it's going to then project our high-res detail back to our original mesh. And sometimes this can be a little handsy. Sometimes if things have been pushed too far, you might have to go in and do a smooth and clean up. Sometimes it's really good to step down all the way to your lowest subdivision level and start projecting at each subdivision. I find that I get better results if I do that. So by the time I get to my highest subdiv, it's got all the detail that I need. So at this stage, let's do one more projection here. Just go through and look, especially between the fingers. That's where, you know, when the rays shoot out, they sometimes conflict with each other, and it can break things. So just navigate around, make sure everything. See, like we got this little janky guy coming in right here, and you just got to go in and smooth that stuff out. And obviously I haven't done like a ton of high fidelity detailing, so I'm not worried about having to redo some of that stuff. And now I think we're in a good spot. If I go A/B between them, I really can't tell the difference. There's very, very little, if any, difference. So now I'm just going to delete the old one and just inherit the new clean topology as my new caveman body mesh. So from here, what we can do, the other reason you want this, you want low subdivision levels, is because we want to be able to easily mask portions of our character so that we can pose the character. And what I'm gonna do here first, I think, is if we take a look at our concept. I think I'm going to start with this left arm that's coming down and grabbing the neck of the T-Rex. So we'll start with that guy. The knees, the legs will leave symmetrical. We'll leave everything symmetrical for now, just because that's going to make our lives easier. But his arm, we're definitely going to get posed. So how do we do that? So if we come over here to the move brush or move button, and then if I click and drag, holding control, if I click at the shoulder and start dragging down the length of the arm, you'll see that it follows the spans and gives me a mask that try to follow that direction the best they can. And this works really good if you have a clean topology. If you were trying to do it on the Dynamesh that we had before, it would work. It would be just significantly more handsy. But also we can easily feather that mask so that when we deform our arm like so, it's going to be a much smoother, like less jagged, kind of crazy transition there. So we're just going to keep doing that and just kind of getting this arm into pose, just unlocking and relocking my pivot and getting things into place. And you can always control left click tap to blur your mask a little bit too as you go. And don't nitpick too much, because there's always going to be some cleanup, so just keep that in mind. Right now we got his elbow kind of intersecting his thigh, so let's try to rectify that. Maybe use the snake hook and try to pull the arm out this way, and just kind of cleaning up as we go. These traps are pretty crazy looking right now. And then always just remember to continue to check out your concept, your reference. So now I've just control left clicked and dragged down the length of his forearm to grab his hand, and I think what I'm planning on doing here is just rotating this a little bit, and always make sure that you rotate around and then try to center that pivot. So go to unmasked center, and let's just get that hand in place, and then I'm going to alt over to my hand. I like the hand pose here that I've got with the pinky kind of separated out, the other fingers kind of connected. So we'll do that with a pinky. Just kind of spread that guy out a little bit more. And you can also use the legacy transpose tool too. Sometimes that one works a little bit better, honestly. And let's turn on our dinosaur just so that our T-Rex, so that we can have a reference here. Turn on the back portion. And okay, so we can definitely continue to rotate the whole arm a good amount here. And you can always just come over here with mask pen and just kind of hand paint where that influence is at, and then blur that, feather that edge by left clicking and tapping. And we'll just redraw our joint here. And then kind of, rotate that guy in. Turn solo, kind of come in here with the snake hook and pull these fingers just out a little bit. And again, utilize the move topological brush for some of this stuff if you want to manipulate just the one finger and not the others next to it. And then I'm going to just do an inflate because I want these fingers to all kind of be contacting each other just a little. Alright, cool. I'm going to step up my subdivision levels by hitting D and just see how things are looking. And it's looking pretty good. The other thing to keep in mind too is even though we have moved out of symmetry, we can still have activate symmetrical modeling, because when we ran our zremesh, we made sure that our symmetry was on. And so both sides of this topology are perfectly symmetrical, which will enable us, and I'll show you, I'll stop talking and just show you. His fingers are getting weird. Hold on a sec. Yeah, I'll have to continue noodling with those. So if I hit X on my keyboard, right, you'll see that, oh look, my symmetry's off. You know, it's not working anymore because my arms aren't in the same place. But what you can do about that is you can come over here to transform and then go use posable symmetry. And now if I come down, look at that. So I'm on the index finger on both sides, even though my model isn't strictly speaking symmetrical, because it is topologically. So that's why you kind of try to maintain that. And I'm kind of kicking the dead horse, but I hate that term, by the way. I don't know why I say it. I'm just going to continue just to modify the weird deformations that I've done since the other thing that tends to happen too with this, you know, this tricep tends to kind of flop out and get huge because he's pressed up against that lat right there. So let's make sure that's happening. And this trap is looking super crazy. Let's fix this guy. And it's always good to have subdivision levels because it's easier just to manipulate. It's easier to manipulate the low-res geo than it is the high-res, especially if you're doing large to medium form adjustments. And again, we're not going to end up with a clean topology because I've decided I think I'm just going to stay in 3D print land with this for now. So someone was asking me, well, do you do zremesh or do you live in Dynamesh? And it's not always that linear. It's ZBrush is very, very flexible in that you can constantly just switch between zremesh and Dynamesh and get the job done. So sometimes it's a bit of back and forth with those topologies. Just going to introduce some blockiness here. All right, cool. I'm going to save and do a save next. And then let's start on that other arm. Now this one's going to be a little bit trickier, I think. We're going to have to turn on our spear so that we have that as a reference point. I'm actually going to tuck that more into the armpit area. And that's kind of exactly where I want it there. And then from there, well, it's going to be a big adjustment. So. Okay, cool. And we'll come over here on the back and just kind of scooch that aside. Make sure our symmetry is off, by the way, at this stage, because we're just going to manipulate this side of the body. Okay, and then I think we want to bend this arm, so we're just going to control left click and drag along the arm. Sometimes it's a matter of the angle of the camera too. So I'll rotate around if I'm not getting the result I want. Sometimes I'll just rotate around and try dragging it out from another angle. Real quick, we can just take a look here. Yeah, so his elbow's kind of tucked in and pointing towards his pelvis. His elbow is pointing right down towards his pelvis area, so I'll try to achieve that. I'm going to blur the mask just a little. And another trick I like to do is just control left click tap and invert my mask, and then I'll blur it again from that and then re-invert. And sometimes that just adds a nice, oops, excuse me. What did I do? Oh, I accidentally clicked my history. You'll notice this is one of the banes of this terrible history bar up here, is that you can accidentally click on this guy. So I'm going to go all the way back to the right. And then I was using move when I was rotating, which you can actually do, and it's kind of interesting. So it adds kind of a weird, it deforms it weirdly, but sometimes that's kind of fun, especially if you're working with a stylized character. Just going to center my pivot there. And then if you click on the inner white circle right here, it'll just rotate that direction. Now we just want to grab that forearm and hand. Control left click tap. And then we want to rotate our radius this way. So we're going to click the white circle, the center circle there, and then rotate that direction. And actually, and don't worry about things getting, you know, looking weird at this stage. We just want it like his bicep is basically gone. We just really want to get things. And some of this we can honestly just snake hook around. His hand is going to be very tricky if we're going to stick to the concept. These bulkier characters can be really difficult sometimes. Again, just kind of going in and resculpting and stepping down our subdivs to just more easily manipulate that. Using snake hook, trusty snake hook tool. Get things out of the way. We're getting close. We still need to move this guy aside a little. And then we'll grab the hand area. Center our. Let's get it like this. Seems like I'm moving inhumanly fast. It's because I've done it forever. I've done this forever. So I've been doing this for a good 15 years or so. Just remember, patience is key. Patience and hard work, and just keep on doing it. Keep doing the thing. A little tricky today's day and age with AI and everything to stay motivated. Like, what's the point? But there is a point. The point is you're going to get better as an artist, and you're going to stay employed. You'll be able to feed your family. Just keep working hard. Don't give up. That's my motivational speech. Okay, so now we're going to try to figure out how to wrap this hand around this thing. And it's gonna be a little tricky. So we'll start by going like so. And then we'll stretch it forward just a little bit. And now we can just grab this thumb. I like to use the mask lasso too. It's pretty handy when you're doing this kind of stuff. Snake hook brush, get a little bit of length to that thumb, stretching around. Just tighten that guy up and in there. This is definitely going to be the most tricky of the parts here. One thing you can do too, we could play around with this anyway, just grabbing all of those fingers with the lasso, blurring, let's step up our subdivision level and then blur, and then invert that. And then instead of having to bend each individual finger, we'll try this out. And it just kind of, it's definitely, I mean, it's going to need some touch up, but I think it's going to be easier than having to. We'll come up to that second joint here, and then position our from here. I think I'm gonna just grab this individual finger and stretch that this way, stretch that this way, and again just left clicking and dragging along those edges will do the deed for you. And they've gotten real skinny, so let's inflate these guys and just make them basically so big that they're touching. And then we'll continue to manipulate this shape and the form overall. You honestly want his hand to be natural. Does your hand move like that? Look at your own hand and see, you know, what you can do for your range of motion. I think this guy could be like pointed this way a little bit more. And let's just take a look here. Sometimes the easiest approach is just to move the object instead of having to noodle with, you know, all these fingers. Look out that bicep. He's in a flexed position so that traps, they come down and elongate as the arm bends, and then as it straightens out, they slide up the arm and flex. Triceps. Did I say traps? I meant triceps. These fingers definitely need some deforming. Sometimes it's better to just like smooth and then let go of shift while you're smoothing, and it'll kind of give you that volume that you've lost as you've been kind of pushing stuff around. And it's rounded them out, so I've lost like that fingernail feel to it, but I can always just reintroduce that. So now we're kind of getting in the ballpark, I think. Yeah, I think you want to be able to. Let's do this. Let's get everything else out of the way here. We'll just do a select lasso. We can kind of see better. So we're missing, you know, a knuckle on these, so let's try and get that guy going. Okay, and then I'm just going to jump into the inflate brush and just increase the volume of all those. We're really up and against that. Okay, so Control Shift left click tap, and let's reveal our character, see how things are looking. Let's turn everything on just to see how everything looks together so far. It's looking pretty good. Adding that volume down here was not the right go. Well, I mean, I think it's within the realm of possibility. I think that hand can do that, kinda, and it's working okay. I think that's the weirdness, is that the shape of the arm is kind of cool. Sweet. Alright, cool. So he's pretty much done. Not done. They're never done, are they? But he's in pose. So I'm just going to save and do a version up. And now let's move on to our T-Rex. Close that folder out. So I'm going to start by just combining things together. We can just merge down like our arms and our head shape and our body. And these guys, whatever those things are called. Just combining stuff. Merging down. And you know what? Let's go ahead and commit and merge the tongue down too. So eyes, teeth, and body are the only 3 objects now with this guy. They're all combined. And then we'll just run a Dynamesh on him. I'll leave it at 240 for now and see what that does. Did we lose detail? You know, we didn't want. We did some fine detailing on the tongue. Let's see what it does to that. Let's up our resolution just a little bit to 3 something, and then re-Dynamesh. But now everything is just kind of shrink wrapped into one topology, which is what we're going for. There's a tiny bit of a hole there in this guy. Let's inflate that out and then rerun our Dynamesh. So the cleaner you can have your Dynamesh at the state of when you run your zremesh, the better. It's just a good thing. You don't want any like floating polys or weird holes or things like that. You just want it to be as clean as possible before running your zremesh. So from here, we're gonna do our fancy pants duplicate. So we have both of these still. Just gonna run a zremesh. Usually, not a zremesh, a save. I like to save before I start to run some of these functions because that can be, it can get a little dicey, a little crashy on us. Okay, so on our duplicated subtool, we'll just come down to geometry and zremesher and just run a zremesh at 5 target poly count. Okay, so this is a bug with ZBrush. I don't know why it does this. I'll have to submit this video to them because for whatever reason, because I didn't like manipulate the surface, it zremeshed into the old character. And it's only started doing that since with the recent updates. I don't know why it does that, but usually if I come in here and like do a smooth or a function on it and then hit zremesh, it'll most of the time sometimes work. Okay, it looks like we have another error here. So one thing I'll do when I get that error, because the zremesher has been significantly more finicky than usual in the last few versions. So one thing I'll do is I'll come to Dynamesh and I'll just drop my resolution down significantly and rerun that Dynamesh. And you're going to lose detail. It's fine for now. We're not concerned about that at the moment. We just want to get our basic mesh or our base mesh as clean as possible before we run our Dynamesh. So right now we've got all these weird little intersects, these little bridges, these holes right here. So this is going to be a problem. So what I'm going to do is undo and go back before our initial Dynamesh, and then just do a deflate to get these gaps, get more clearance in these gaps right here, so that when we run our Dynamesh, they won't. And that was honestly, that was probably the problem. That was the reason it was erroring. So now I'm just gonna try this again. A little bit higher, 270 something's fine. And now I bet if we ran it, and look around, I bet you it's going to work. Still not. So it was just that resolution. I went to a lower Dynamesh resolution, and now it thinks it's going to work. So it's quite a bit more finicky, zremesh. Since like 2021 or so, it's been a little bit difficult. But we've got it figured out. There's ways around it. There's always ways around things in ZBrush, which is one of its strengths. Okay, so the topology looks pretty good. And if you're worried about things, if there's any kind of weirdness, squirreliness, there's a hole right there. You can come over here to modify topology, do a close holes, and then just run a zremesh again. Sometimes you got to run zremesh 2 or 3 times to get it to predict the edge flow accurately. And obviously this looks very blobby, but it's not a problem because we're going to reproject. So we'll hit Control D 2 or 3 times, and then step down to our second subdivision level, hitting Shift D, turn everything else off with Shift click on the eye, turn just this guy, just our 2 working subtools on, come to project, and then run a project, and then step up, and then do another project, and step up again, and so on and so forth. We'll do it one more time. Control D, and then do a project all. I'm sure there's not any new detail we're grabbing, but once that finishes, we'll just delete our other subtool. Okay, cool. So we've got all the detail. We'll A/B between, make sure things are there, and then delete our old and just inherit the new topology. And now we are in a nice riggable state. This character. Turn off solo mode and hold Shift and click that eye. Let's turn everything on. We'll do a save. And now let's start to get this dinosaur in his pose. That's gonna help a lot. So let's start by just bending this leg up. So I'm gonna switch over to the rotate button, start dragging and dragging. This one's gonna be tricky to get. We'll have to start once these loops don't span all the way into the body, like you see, and then we're probably gonna have to just use the mask pen and kind of paint our mask right here for this upper thigh area, and then give it a good blur, invert, sharpen a little bit. Okay, and then we'll use the rotate, place that in the pelvis area, and then rotate that guy up like that. Come down to the knee, maybe step up a subdivision level. Okay, so well, that's his toe that's there, I guess. Using the Move Topological Brush. Move Topological Brush works really good on low poly mesh too. It's very, very effective. On higher poly, not so much. You can get real sluggish. So I've got that knee bent up there a good amount, kind of up over the shoulder area. Looks like proportions might be a little bit off. And also, one thing we're going to do, turn everything off except for our, that's one thing I don't like about the folders. We're going to turn just our T-Rex stuff on, and then we'll start to actually rotate our T-Rex because it's going to be leaning and placing all the weight on that one foot. So we'll just rotate. Yep, we got to make sure that all of our, we use this transform gizmo, reset our pivot, and then go from there. And yeah, that's already looking better. Kind of leaning onto that one leg. And this makes it look like his leg has gotten up, you know, it's up higher. And okay, we'll continue to just pose this leg up here. Looks like I have quite a bit more mass in the legs than I do in my concept, which I don't know if I've done that for durability or I'm just kind of still working through that, I guess. And then we'll rotate the ankle down. I'm going to use the lasso to just grab all the bottom toes. Reset this guy. Rotate around. Posing digits and toes is always tricky. It always takes patience and time. Then let's continue to bend these toes in a little. Not sure where that nail went. That's kind of lost that in the zremesh. And again, we got this kind of mass that needs to jut out as these squash together, similar to the triceps for their caveman. We want to do that with our calf. So again, like I find that like one of the keys of smooth is just letting go of shift while you're left clicking on a smooth process to change the way that it smooths. And I get some interesting results doing that. Okay, so that leg is up a good amount. Let's turn everything on and see how it fits. Turn on our caveman. He's going to be off now because he's, yeah. Turn everything off except for, I think it's because this stuff's not in a folder. Like I said, I have a hard time with folders. I'm trying to adapt. Oops. Make sure that you're locked. And then you can actually mask the thing, the one thing that you don't want to move. And then even though all these buttons are on, it won't move that character or that thing. So that's another trick too. Cool. I guess, yeah. Alright, so let's switch back over to our T-Rex and continue to pose. So for now, I think I need to scoot that, the hind leg back. So let's do that. We'll start by dragging out our mask. So mask pin. I think I added more mass to the legs because obviously there's a ton of weight on this print that's going to be on that one leg. So something to always consider is durability. Obviously I'm going to shell everything, so it's all going to be super light, but still that's a lot of weight to be on this one leg. And honestly, when you're prepping for print, sometimes it's worth running like a hole all the way up that you can run like a metal rod or like some wire into to increase strength. And I can show you that process as well. Just moving back a little bit here, stepping up our subtools a little. Kind of lost that little rear nub. Alright, so the other thing here, let's do this. Let's rotate the head back the other direction just a little. So weird. Differences between the transform tools. Alright, so now his head's straight, which is what I like. Nice and likey. And let's turn everything on. And what I'm gonna do, I never did really like this grass, so I'm gonna delete it because it's really just heavy, and we'll do something else with it. I'm just going to scoot that down. Get that out of the way. Well, I need to have the foot there. Alright, cool. So this is looking pretty good. Oh, the other issue I had here is when I moved the head back, I lost the teeth position. So the final thing I think I need to do is just stretch this jaw out, make that more extreme. So I'll use my mask lasso, just grab the bottom area there, and then position my transform gizmo, and then really open that up like crazy. And this is kind of an homage to the cartoon, because when they open their mouths, it's like so crazy and cool, aggressively open. So now we just need to grab the teeth, the bottom layer of teeth, so we'll just unmask those and then rotate those back down because our transform is still in place. It makes it pretty easy. And then use the snake hook brush to bring the teeth back into the mouth because somehow they got pulled out. Awesome. And I think the lower jaw is oh, the other thing I wanted to mention real quickly is every time you turn on use posable symmetry, so right now it's on, if I step up a subdivision level, that goes off again. So you need to come back here each time you change the subdivision level and then rerun that just to make sure that, so like, I'll show you easier on the toes. So it's off again with the toes. If I should be on those toes. Now I need to do use posable symmetry, and now it's back on. So just make sure that every time you change up and down those subdivision levels, you recalculate the posable symmetry. So a little pro tip for you. And let's get this tail more in line too. It's going to be a tricky print to get. Just figuring out how to break this dinosaur up, this T-Rex up, so that we can print him with minimal seams when we assemble. All right, cool. Okay, video's getting long, so I think we're going to obviously finish some, polish some things, get his foot so it's not intersecting the body. In the next video, we'll just clean things up a little bit, maybe have him lean this direction to compensate for the dinosaur leaning that direction. And in fact, real quick before I close out, I'm just going to grab this leg and center that just a little bit more. So it looks like the balance is going to work. Yeah, I like that. Alrighty. Oh, we broke the toes though doing that. See that? Because we didn't have the toes masked properly. Let's try it again. And we'll then come up here and just rotate the foot back. Okay. Sweet. All right, cool. That's going to do it for this video, everybody. I'm going to save and version up my file. Made some pretty drastic changes here, so I'll just be sure to version that up to secure the state of what I got going on in the other ZTL. So anyway, if you like what you see, do the thing. Like, comment, smash that subscribe button. I think all the kids say smash that button now, so I'm going to say that. Anyway, thanks for joining me, and we'll see you in the next video. We're going to keep refining, maybe think of some scale work that we can do on the T-Rex, and just really get into the detailing side of this thing. So we'll see you in the next video.